Hello everyone, this is Mark here at Gary's Guitars. I'm here for my Little Amps video series, and today's amp is very special because it's in my personal collection. I've used it live at gigs and in the studio. Say hello to my little friend. This is a Supro branded Valco amp. We're going to talk about what Valco amps are, what's, this particular Supro amp, what makes it different from the Champ, which is very similar to schematic wise. And so let's get into it. Okay, let's do a little walk around. There's a leather handle at the top. First of all, the look is stunning. The Supro logo on the front is beautiful. Here's the control panel. We have a volume with the on-off switch on it. That was pretty common back in the day. A tone switch, which is usually a lack of tone switch. So if you want muddy sound, or if you want it to sound like there was no tone, you leave it most of the way up. Pilot light, a fuse, a microphone input, and instrument inputs. Microphone inputs were usually a different impedance. Sometimes you would have a transformer on the inside, on the microphone input side, but not in this case, not in an amp this small. And sometimes you'll see like a high and low impedance kind of thing too. Oftentimes there's just a little shunt or something on the back, a little cap that, like a brake cap or something that creates a different sound for one input than the other. This is more a marketing thing. You can look at it and go like, hey, Mom and Dad, I can plug a microphone into this amp too. It's not just for my guitar, it's two things in one. So right here, Valco Manufacturing Company, Chicago, Illinois. Now Valco made a lot of amps for a lot of different companies. Gretsch, Gibson. They're a big manufacturing company. They didn't do a lot branded under their own name. I should have researched that ahead of time. Usually you find that, they were kind of a third-party maker of amps for oftentimes guitar companies that didn't have the wherewithal to make their own amps or the desire to. They would just farm it out. So here inside, let's take a peek inside. Safely. Those rounded Art Deco corners are a really easy way to tip your amp forward. So, a smallish speaker. That's a 6-inch. We have a rectifier tube, a 6 V6 tube, a 12x7 preamp, and a multi-section cap, and a transformer. So this brings me to the point of what makes this sound so different from a Fender. Well, Fender was, just by nature, Leo Fender in his designs, which inspired the designs of many Fender amps to this day. He was into over-engineering, and these are made under contract from a third-party company, and oftentimes they would ask things to be cheaped out a bit. So the transformer size and ratings. Even look for the output transformer. Must be just up in the inside. I didn't even see the output transformer. But the size of the audio output transformer, this is the size of a Fender audio out transformer, and this is the power transformer here. The audio output transformer is probably about only as big as it has to be, essentially. These pointer knobs are the best. Sorry, get distracted there. And so this amp does sound beautiful too. Its flaws is the fact that it's a little under-engineered compared to the Fender. Gives it a less bright sound, warmer tone in general. So with the tone all the way up, it's not going to get you the Fender brightness, but in a good way. Everything shouldn't sound like a Fender. But usually, so where they would cheap out, the ratings of the transformers, so it's just like a smaller transformers. The tubes are essentially the same. The speaker quality, so that gives you the honkier breakup of the speaker. So even the Fender Champs were over-engineered to some degree. So at this time, Supro was more or less a lap steel manufacturer, and this amp was probably matched up to one of their lap steels. that's kind of why they didn't bother. We know Supro today as an amp company because people were inspired by the old amps to kind of reissue them. So this was probably paired up with a lap steel, and it was branded Supro beautifully. This grill cloth is metal, which does something to the sound for sure. And it's a small aperture here too, which is does something for the sound. But whatever the end result is, it's a beautiful sounding amp. Warm. What else can I say about it? Bright. Bright as in like a glowing warmth. So not bright as in a treble, but something that cuts through. I've used it with lap steel. I've used it on guitar. You have to use them a little carefully on guitar because those speakers are blowable. So if you sounds so good on 10, but if you're really going to run on 10, swap the speaker out because these speakers are not made to have, especially when this was designed, the input intensity of the instrument was less. We didn't have all these pedals to push harder on the amp. So that's the story of my Supro. Thanks for watching. I have other episodes of this. By the way, and I maybe should have said this earlier, when I spoke about the Champ, I made two mistakes. I think I gave the year as 2020 instead of 2022, and everyone's like, what's going on? And then also, I accidentally said 6L6 instead of 6V6. I don't use a script for these little monologues. I have most of the stuff, I rehearse in my head a little bit, but I make mistakes sometimes, and so that's that. So this also has the 6V6, the 5Y3 rectifier, 12X7 preamp. It's super cool looking, super cool sounding. If you ever come across one, do yourself a favor and get one. So thanks for watching. Check out the other videos, including the one about the Champ. Also, these come stocked with an ungrounded, non-polar power cable. If you want to know more about that, in one of my other series called Tube Talk, there is an entire episode about to ground or not to ground, to make your, should you swap the cable off, what are the reasons for that against it. So check that out too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.